I'm going to open the class 10 model with levels and grids and then save it as the class 11 model with walls and glazing. I'm just going to do File, Save As, Project. I'm going to call it class 11. First of all, and I'm going to have to apologize for this, we set this up with north up here. Do you remember? On all the drawings, north is over here. And as I was going through them, sort of switching back and forth to get dimensions, I got completely confused about which direction I was looking at. So what I want to do is switch this around so our views will be aligned with the way that they appear on the sheets. And let's just refresh what that is. That's 5 through 11 running across this way. I just want to renumber these guys 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and these guys B through H. I can't start numbering these 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 because these are already numbered that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the easiest thing for me was just to delete these. I'm going to delete all except the first one on each row. Let's see, down here is we'll just call this one like Z or something rather, just so we don't run into it. And then I want this one to be a 5. 2 clicks. Okay, it does work. It's a 5. And I'm just going to copy that over 21 feet at a time. CO for copy. I'm just going to drag my cursor all the way out here and then let go of the mouse so it just stays there in horizontal and do 21 feet. And it went to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Escape. These want to start at the top at B and then come down. So I'm going to take this guy and copy it from here up. Copy straight out. 1, 2, 6. Okay. And that's going to be a B. If I copy this one down 21 feet, and the most recent one, if I just change that to what I want it to be, that constitutes sort of resetting the kinds of symbols I'm using and where to start. So if I've got a B and then copy down to a C, then these should all be, get rid of this guy. These should all be fine. Copy. 1, 1, 21, 21, 21, 21. Okay. So now north on both sets of drawings is to the left. As we look at the drawings, we don't have to be rotating our heads 90 degrees, which was really hard for me. Now that we have these grids set, I don't want to accidentally select them or move them or anything like that. So I'm just going to pick one of each kind. These are 2 different types, the main one with the bubble and this one without the bubble. And then right click, select all instances in the whole project. That picks up all our grid lines. And then I want to pin them in place. And then each gets a push pin icon to indicate that it is indeed pinned. So I can select them now, but I can't move them. And in fact, since I don't want to do anything with them, and I don't want them to keep highlighting and look like they're a selection, over here in select, we can say, don't even select pinned elements. Just ignore them completely. We can still snap to them. We can do all that kind of stuff, use them as guides, but we can stop thinking of them as things that we need to modify. I'm just going to uncheck that guy over there. We want to put the 2 building cores in here, one for elevators and one for bathrooms. And we need to see where they are. And let me tell you that as we look at this building, and if here's the plaza floor level, and then here are the others going up. As the elevator cores come down from upstairs, they're a certain width. When you get to the first floor and then down farther, the inside of the elevator shaft is just the same width all the way down. But the wall actually gets fatter over there, starting at the first floor and going down to the basements. And it's only like another 4 inches or something, but it gives us 2 sets of dimensions of where the core walls are in relation to the rest of the building. Since we're going to be working on the second floor, so we're going to go with the dimensions that are on the second, or it's actually called the typical floor plan, not the plaza level floor plan. Do that. So let's go see what we're dealing with. So you can see sort of overall what we're dealing with is 2 cores that are centered between 2 pairs of grid lines. They're sort of set in the middle of them, going this way. We're going to an enlarged plan of the core. So you have 9 feet even from one wall to the next, and 7 feet 7/8 inches from the grid line to the wall. And this down here, here's the grid line F. Here's our grid line right here. We come 6 feet 6 inches to the inside of the wall, and then the wall itself is 5 5/8 plus 1.5, which is 7 1/8 inches. So this 7 7/8 will mirror over there. Once we've got this thing drawn, we can mirror it about the center line of the building and put that up there. So we don't have to keep measuring and keep drawing. We can just know that this is very consistent here. Okay, let's see how that works. So we didn't actually measure anything, did we? And it's good that we didn't have to measure anything. All the information is there in the dimensions in one drawing where it should be. Okay, so here's our center line, grid line E. I'm going to make something a little different here. I'm going to be able to select pinned elements. We're going to be mirroring a lot of things around this guy. So I want to make it easier to identify when I zoom in and maybe not be able to see the labels. Override graphics and view by element. I just want to change this to red. See if I can do that. Apply. Okay, so it'll be easy to pick that one, which a lot of stuff is going to mirror around. So I had to go to select pinned elements to be able to get it, and then change it. I'm going to do it the same for this one here. Select it, right click, override graphics and view by element, color, red, okay, magenta, whatever. Since we'll be zoomed in a bunch and be sometimes hard to know just which one we're looking at, it helps to have them color coded like that. I'm going to go back, and once I've done that, also turn off being able to select them. I don't want to keep having them. If I don't do that, they'll start showing up every time I drag and either hover over them, so that's a pain. So I'll deselect, turn that off. So here's the center of our corridor running right down here. And we know the elevator lobby is 9 feet, so this will be 4.5 feet. And I think what we'll do here is create some reference planes just to sort of sketch where we're going. Temporary construction lines. So I'm just going to draw this reference plane from here to here, most of the distance between the 2 column lines. I'm going to set it 4.5 feet off this center line. So I just use my dimension tool, DI. And this once, since the whole thing is going to be 9, this should be 4'6". 4'6". So that's where our wall starts as we start to build our core down here. And then at the, I'll copy this down. It was in here somewhere. And we measured that this guy is 6'6" to the inside of the wall, and then 7 1/8 to the outside of the wall. So I'll just do that 6'6" first. Dimension here to here. Turn that to be 5. I'll click the line, change the dimension, 6'6" to the inside of the wall. And then I'm just going to move that down 7 1/8. Unfortunately, you can't offset reference planes. Space 1/8 inches, which you can see is just a tiny bit over that line. The next 2 reference planes, RP as reference planes, are about in here. And we saw that wrote down that from here to the reference plane is 7 foot and 7/8 of an inch. So I'll just dimension that. Select it, update the dimension, 7 feet, 7/8 inches. No, that's 7 feet, 7/8. So see, there's our corner up here. That's where we'll be drawing the walls to. And then since everything's symmetrical about the middle, I'm going to pick this reference plane. These are just like construction lines. We'll erase them as soon as we've used them. Pick this one and use the mirror about an existing line tool. And we have a choice of whether to copy or not. We'll have copy turned on. And then, so with that picked, we can then pick our center line and it will create the new reference plane over there. So how thick is that wall? I don't know. Let's go take a look. Oh, we do know. It's 7 7/8. It's 7 1/8 because we measured that down at the bottom. So let's go into wall, architecture, wall. We'll start with the generic 8-inch wall. But it's going to be a little smaller than that. It's 7 1/8. So we'll go to edit type. And we're going to duplicate and create a new wall type for this particular instance here. And let's just call this M-Life Core. And we can worry about its materials later on, but we do want to make it the right thickness now. So we go to edit type and structure, and then it's 7.125 or 7 1/8 inches. And we'll come back and assign an interior and exterior face to that at some point. Okay. So as we're starting to draw with it, WA, we could use the rectangle tool. I would like to use the line tool just to understand what we're doing better. And when we're drawing it, remember, these are the outside corners. So I want to be saying, I want to be drawing with the finished face of the exterior wall. Finish exterior face of the wall. From this point, this intersection of reference grids. Okay, so that's exterior and it's coming inside. Go clear over here of the reference planes, not of the grid. You know, we're only 7/8 of an inch off, but that's where we are. And then come down to the next reference plane intersection. Next one. And then up to close. So knowing that these are in the right place, our 4'6" measures correctly, our 7/0 and 7/8 measures correctly, and our 6'6" plus 7/8, the 7 1/8 measures correctly. So I can get rid of these dimensions and get rid of the reference planes. We don't need them. The reason these are slightly off module here is on the first floor, the outside of the structural wall lines up with these. By the time it's narrowed coming up, it's not doing that anymore. So somebody's got to take up the slack. Okay, so if we want to repeat this over here, we can window them and use the mirror command. This one with the pencil on it is if we were going to draw the line to use as a mirror line. Here we can just pick one that's there already and pick our center line and get the rest of the core. And let's just check. We know this is supposed to be 9 feet. I want to measure to wall faces. Right on the button. So that's where we want to be. I like it when that works out, especially with an audience. Let's look at this in 3D. You know, we're drawing there on the first floor level, and by default, when you're drawing on a level, the floors just go up to the next one, because they mostly do. But we want these to go clear up to the roof level. You might have noticed when the Belknap Village dorms are going up, you know, they just built those elevator towers just straight up with nothing around them. And then the steel comes in floor by floor, and the floor is poured on top of that. So let's take these up to the roof. There's an easy way and there's a long way. Let's do the easy way. We'll select this one, right click, select all instances in an entire project. So that's all the walls of that type, which is our American Life core. They're all picked. And we just want to say, instead of being unconnected, we just want to say, extend them to the roof. There they are. What's going to be happening at the corners of this building in plan is there's a 24 by 24 column coming up at us. The walls, we're going to be treating them as 24 inches thick. They're mostly hollow, but that's how they're expressed architecturally. So we're just going to take our floor right from this corner right here down to the same opposite corner. We don't have to engage the floor into the wall at all. They're just like separate pieces. So if we go back to create our level 2 floor plan, everybody have a level 2? We created this yesterday. I'm just going to go architecture, floor. Again, I'm going to use that 4-inch concrete slab. It's something more complex than that actually, but it's actually 4 inches of concrete on top of a steel deck or pan that's supported by metal joists that are bearing on beams, but the concrete part is what we're just right now. So pick that, draw a rectangle with it, and there's the column. So I'm just going to go from the corner of the column to the corner of the diagonally opposite column. And say, okay. So that's there at level 2. And we can see it's gently sprinkled with concrete fairy dust. So in 3D, we get this. You can see that floor goes clear through those columns, which doesn't work those cores when you've got elevators and stuff. So we'll go back to level 2 and cut the holes in the floor for the cores to come up through. This is truly the elevator core, which is elevators, stairs, and ventilation shafts, which does not have any floors in it. Well, except for those 2 little closets, which we're going to ignore. So we can cut that away entirely. This one has entry and a women's room and a men's room, and it does have floors. It also has some ventilation ducts here. So we'll cut it away, and if we need to put floors back in, we'll put floors back in. So again, with anything in Revit, if you select an exterior boundary, you can just add interior boundaries that become voids in it. So there's that, and we can just draw 2 rectangles right around the corners of the of our cores. Okay. And if we look at that in 3D, we can see we've got that happening, and we can see all the way down to the first floor. Since you guys will be working on the second floor, I gather, you might want to be able to see where that intersection is. And that's with modify join, where you can pick one object and then pick another, and it'll draw the line where they intersect. It doesn't cut it, doesn't do anything. It just draws the line so we can see that. Just makes it look better. So I'll do that with the other guys as well. Floor and click and click. I can just keep clicking. No, I have to do that. I pick the tool a couple of times. So now if you're doing your movie studio in here somewhere and are looking back at the elevator core, you'll be able to see the bottom of that looking like something real. Let's do the other floors as long as we're here. Let's go into a left elevation at one of these elevations and pick it and copy it up and up and up. But there's a nicer way to do this as long as you're going to levels, which you can do in any view. If we select it and then use the copy command, the copy to clipboard, then normally, pasting it just puts another one right in the same place. But Revit understands that we're working with floor levels. And if you got one on the second floor, you might want the same thing on the third floor. So if we say align to selected levels, and it's already at level 2, so let's pick 3, shift 4, shift 5, and say okay, and just puts them right up. And we could be doing that with 50 hotel rooms and grab them and done that up any number of floors. So in terms of productivity, it's a great tool, but you don't want to do that until that thing is ready to go. Let's create a roof. Let's go into roof plan. And the roof is just like a floor from the inside corner to the inside corner of the columns. Up, there are no columns showing. And that's because they come right up to the roof. And this view starts at the roof and they don't quite show. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower the bottom of the range that the roof view sees. It's called this view range. And it's one of the parts of Revit that I have to keep wrapping my head around. But in this case, it's pretty nice. Here we are in this roof plan view. We want to go to view range. Where did that get to? View range right here. And all we want to do right here is say, from where it is now, look down and like another foot. Look, just include the top, the first foot below that, like a little bit of X-ray vision. I mean, 1 inch would have done it. Probably 1/10 of an inch would have done it, but just say a foot keeps it clean and easy. So now we're sort of seeing the top foot of those guys and of the core walls. We'll make the roof the same way, but a foot thick. Don't know what's really up there. It's interesting. It's a green roof, both that and the top, and you can see that in aerial photographs and stuff. That was added on after the fact. I don't know what extra structure and stuff had to be put in there, but we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to make it a foot thick. So architecture, roof, roof by footprint, just drawing it here. Basic roof insulation on metal deck. Let's just go to our generic 12-inch roof. Filled probably means crosshatched or something. And there's no use wasting ink on that. So let's do this. Again, that's going to be just a rectangle from here to the other rectangle. And the space in here will be filled in by the wall. So we don't have to sort of do any of that. Click. Okay. Let's look at a section view right through here. Create a view section, just like right through here. So we can sort of see the roof. We will see the roof and the walls and everything all the way up. View section, double click. The way Revit understands roofs is that the datum is to the bottom of the roof. See, this is right here at the roof level. That's going to be here. We actually want to move this down a foot so that the top of it lines up with the top of the roof, which is how Mies intended it. So we're just going to move this down a foot. So here it is here. We're just going to say base offset from level -1. We're just going to drop that a foot. This is sort of where the building ends visually, but there's a little stuff back here to keep the dirt from blowing off and that kind of stuff. Not our concern. Okay, let's get back into 3D. And I don't want to see this stuff coming through the roof. So here's how to handle it if you encounter a similar situation. I would like these 4 columns also to drop, their tops to drop down a foot. Click. I'm not selecting all the columns, not the outside ones, just the 4 interior ones. 4 interior columns, and their top offset relative to the roof is -1. -1 foot. And then they drop out. And I think I'll do that to these walls as well. Again, I can select them all at once by selecting one of them, right click, select all instances in entire project, and make them top constraint is roof, and make that also -1 foot. So now it's clean for our working purposes. We don't have to apologize for how it looks. I'm going to leave the plaza level curtain wall for another day, but do want to get the walls and glazing in on the upper floors. It basically starts at the second floor, or a bit below the second floor, and goes up to the roof. So we'll create a new 24-inch wide wall that will form the spandrels between the sections of glazing. In reality, these are basically sleeves to cover the structural steel beams inside. I'm going to go to wall again. So we had that one called American Life Core, which we don't want. What I really want to do is like pick a 12-inch generic wall for starters, and then go to edit type to make it 24 inches wide. Edit type, duplicate. We'll make our own exterior wall. I'm going to call this Am Life M Life exterior. And we might come in and change its materials and who knows what, but that's what it is, okay? So it's got a new name, and now it's got a new, right now we don't have a material for it, but we do know that we want it to be 2 feet wide. Okay. So this one, we have its center line already here on the grid, and we'll be drawing on the center lines. So I want this to go from level 2 all the way up to the roof. And we're just going to basically insert the curtain wall sections as windows. So it'll be a single 50-foot high wall as far as we're considered, not like separate pieces of wall. So there's that. So we're doing this guy, American Life exterior. So I'm going to be drawing with my location line is the center line here, wall center line. And we can just click, just click zoom in right here. And then take it right up to there. And now let's escape because we're not doing that. And let's take a look at that in 3D. I'm around the corner here. Well, it's in the right place. It's the right size, but you see how it's visually merging with these guys? That's not how the building was drawn. It's not how it looks. And it turns out what we need to do is change the definition of the columns so that they will not automatically merge walls that are drawn to them. So since these are merged right here, I'm going to get rid of this one right now, since it's sort of compromised. But we'll go into the column family, edit family, and then up here in family category and parameters, there's a check mark for automatically joins geometry to walls, and we want to uncheck that. We want the spandrels to say expressed as separate objects as they go up the side of the building. So uncheck automatically joins geometry to walls. Now that's just changed it right here. Looking at it, we need to load it back into the project for that to take effect. Load in a project and close. So paying attention here, I don't want to save changes to the one that's on disk. No. I mean, that's sort of how it normally works, but I don't want to, so I don't want to change that. But I do want to override how it works here in this drawing. So don't save it there, but do overwrite here in the drawing. So let's see if that works better. Back to level 2. WA. Actually, I'll just take it up to one floor first of all, just up to level 3, just to see what we're looking at. There's that. Go back to 3D. And there we are, is expressed as a separate thing. We read the columns going up from floor to right to the top of the building. Okay, knowing that that's in the right place and it is working correctly, then we can just take this wall and say, okay, take it up to the roof. So what I'm going to do here briefly is get this panel just right in terms of where the bottom is, where the top is, where the glazing is, that is all correct. And then we can just copy that as a group just to all these other individual locations around the building, since they're all exactly the same. I mean, you couldn't pick a better sort of CAD efficiency drawing than this one right here. So the next thing we have to do, and here we will need to measure because we don't have any drawings in this set calling out how high the spandrels and the windows are. So somebody bring a ruler. So, we've got these 3 floors, 12.6, 12.6, and 12.6. So we can know that these spandrels and glazing sections will be the same. But the 5th floor glazing is clearly higher, and it looks like that top spandrel might be a little deeper than the ones below it. So I'd like to measure from the plaza level up to the bottom of that first spandrel. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 10, 15, 10. Let's call it 15, 10. What's the height of this then, this first spandrel, heavy line to heavy line? Start with putting your 0 where you want to start, like right here. Let's call it 4'2". Okay, 4'2". Somebody else. We get 8'4" for the glazing system, glass on frame. 4'2" and 8'4". Actually, and these are 12'6", so that all adds up perfectly. 4'2" and 8'4". We can just take that right up. Come measure this top window for me. So that's 4, 8, 9, 10 feet. So 10 feet for the upper glazing system, and we'll just let the upper spandrel be whatever's left over. I do need to know, to start this wall, how far below level 2 it starts. So I'll subtract the 1510 from the second floor level, which is 19.4.5, to get 3 feet 6.5. So in that wall's properties, we can just set its base height to 3 foot 6.5 below level 2, and it's minus 3 feet 6.5. Okay, so now we can start placing the sections of storefront wall, which will insert themselves just like a window into a wall if we draw them overlapping the host wall. So I'm just going to draw another wall right on top of this wall. This will be architecture wall. We're going to scroll down for storefront, which is the type that comes with mullions already in place. And for right now, there's a lot we don't know about it, but we do know that I want it to start 8 inches up because I measured that last year. Relative to level 2, it was 9 feet, 8'4" plus 8 inches. So let's just see how this works out. I didn't do 9 feet, sorry. Let's see how that is. I'm just going to draw that from the same place to the same place. I think I'll split my screen WT between these so we can see them happening at the same time. So now let's see how this works. I want to copy the same glazing system up to 3, 4, and 5, and then we can make the one from 5 with the extra foot higher once it gets there. So select it, copy, paste, align to selected levels. It's on 2, so we're going to do it to 3. Shift click, shift click. Okay. Let's look at this in elevation. That's a west elevation. We don't know the width of the mullions yet, so the widths of them are not yet correct. And we know that the 5th floor windows are higher, so we'll take them up a foot or 2 and see how that looks. Let's say 11. Might be a little high, but we'll leave it for now. That seems to work out pretty well. I'm going to rid of these guys. Actually, the top 3, I need to fix this one to get its spacing correct because the mullions want to be on grid lines. So I'm going to actually delete that. I'm using tab to be able to select the window instead of the wall or the column. Okay, so what we know from looking at the drawings is that these mullions want to line up on the 7-foot modules. They'll be centered on that group and go out to the edges. And actually the ones on the outside are a little skinnier than the ones in the middle, or the 4 in the middle, however many there are. So a couple things to do here. One is we've got an extra mullion in here, a horizontal one right near the top, which we don't want to do. We want to get the horizontal mullion to go away. So as we're editing this type, click edit type, a couple things to look through here. Let's pay attention to the horizontal. First of all, there's no horizontal mullions there. So we can just say none, and that'll make this go away. Then on the layout for the vertical grid, we're going to say they're a fixed distance apart, which is 7 feet. And we'll say, okay, because there's also a grid line across here that's part of the window definition. So I want to delete the one that would have been across there. So now we're there. And then the position of these, you'll see, is it just starts at this end and goes 7 feet, 7 feet, 7 feet, 7 feet. What we want to do is actually have this on the center and have these be 7 feet and have the 2 on the ends be slightly less. So the spacing is set in the type properties. Where they actually are, the justification of those within the space is set in the object itself. So the justification, I'll say center. Okay, and then they move right to where they're supposed to be on there. And if we look back at the elevations, we'll see that these are indeed smaller. Okay, so I think this is now ready. Let's see if we copy this up to the next floor if we do have that 4-foot 2-inch spandrel. So here's this. Modify. Oh, gotta select it. Sorry. Tab. Click. Copy. Paste. Align the selected levels. I'll just do it up to number 3. Just so we're only measuring one thing at a time. Distance, 4'2". Great. Okay, good. So I think we can comfortably copy this up to layers 4 and 5. Copy, paste, line the selected levels, 4, shift. Okay. And then this one, we're going to make another foot higher. 10 feet. Okay, and that's 411, and we said it was, I think, 5 feet, so, or 410, so that's fine. Now, I don't want to start repeating this around until I know it's pretty much the way I want it to be, which I think it is. So in plan view now, we can just copy this to all those other column bays. So I'm going to be doing a bunch of selecting things with a window, and I don't want to include the columns in that. So I'm going to pin all these columns as well. So they're pinned and not selectable. We don't have to worry about them. So if I pick one of them, right click, select all instances in entire project, we can then pin them. You know, I could hide them so they're not selectable, but then I'd have to keep turning them on again. So this is really the cleanest way to do this. Okay, so now to copy these guys from one bay to the next, I'm just going to use a window, drag a window like that, and you can see I've picked up, it'll tell me down here at the bottom, it says 2 things, which is interesting. Well, it turns out that that's because in the level 2 plan view, I was selecting the wall and the level 2 window, but not those on the floors above. So I'll do these initial copies in the elevation view. Just do it right here. Copy these, or select all those. And you see down here, it's 5, a wall plus 4 windows. That's just right. And then I'll use the copy tool to copy them from here, straight over to here, straight over to here. Take a look at that in 3D. Now, you know, since we have this nice symmetric building, we just mirror these over to the next side. And the best way to do this is to go back to the site plan view, which sees everything all the way from the floor to the roof. So I'm going to put this back to 1/8 inch. And now if I want to select all this stuff and pick mirror and pick that, that's how that's supposed to work. The nice thing about the site plan view, it's basically looking down from the default 200 feet. So we're just picking everything up all the way down. We go down to the sub basement if we're doing that. So there's that. Does that work, everybody? We got that mirror going on. Now here's something a little more fun. You just have to be a little more careful with picking things. So I'm going to pick this whole group. And it's not picking the columns because they're pinned. And I'm going to zoom in here. And then mirror. There's not a line to pick right now. So I'm going to draw the line at 45 degrees that we're going to use as the mirror line. And that'll just be from here to here. Those guys all just drop right into place. And I've got to see why some of these are extending too far. I'll have to figure that out next on Tuesday. Did I get everything done more or less I wanted to do? Yes. Everything except that very last line there. And I'll try to figure out what went wrong with that? Control S. What we'll do Tuesday is add, you probably want to have bathrooms as you're sort of describing your place. So we'll do elevator doors, staircase doors, bathrooms. Oh, ceiling plan. Yes, ceilings and ceiling plans. Yes. So there's plenty to do yet. See you Tuesday.